Hello, good evening, Sharai. How are you?
Good evening, teacher. Fine, thanks.
That's great, Sharai. Okay, good. So let's begin this first session that we're going to have related to reading. Okay, usually we're going to be working on many kinds of topics, but today in specific, it's going to be somewhat related to essays. All right, how to work on essays. Can you hear me now, Sharai?
Yes, teacher, I can hear you.
Okay, very well. It's something weird that is happening in my computer. Everything is like frozen, but I'm going to try to fix now. So the first reading is going to be related to actually essays. All right, we're going to be reading about students. All right, the students and how they were able to find the right essay. And actually, this is related to Harvard because when you want to get into Harvard, you need to present one of the things, of course, one of the many things that you have to present to get in is one essay. And of course, it's a very hard one, and they have to think very well of what they are going to talk about, because actually they are going to choose that. So we're going to read some of those experiences. Please now give me 1 second. I'm going to try to perhaps reboot this. If I'm out of the meeting, please wait for me. I'm going to be back in 1 minute, all right? Because everything is like frozen.
Okay, okay, teacher.
All right, hi again, Sharai. I think now it's working. I don't know what happened, but I'm sharing my screen right now so that we can start working. All right, so as I was telling you, first we're going to take a look at this like review that actually these students are doing related to those essays. If you want to check that by yourself, that is also on Google Classroom. If you go to classwork and you go to Unit 1, you have reading session, and there you're going to find the first link, which is going to be the topic that we're working right now. So let me share my screen. There you go. It's like the Harvard Gazette, and it says application essays. All right, so how I wrote my Harvard essay. This is part of the community, of course, and it says, right, first year essays, right, recount, right, the agony and the ecstasy. We have many of these writing works. So let's begin with Allison. It says that it's from Louisville, I think. Let's start by reading this part, please, Sharai. I stayed up.
Okay. I stayed up really late at first when my inhibitions were down, so I could write without being self-critical and brainstorm ideas. I probably went through 20 ideas, narrowed them down to five, wrote draft of five, and then picked one and edited until I finished. All of the days writing the essay were stressful. I wrote about the transmission from independence to interdependence and my personal growth that was catalyzed by my parents' divorce. I reflected on my early independence and as a child and how that transitioned to me depending on other people, working together in teams and leading people to accomplish important things in our community.
Thank you very much, Sheree. So this is the first one, right? She's telling us about her experience, right? What happened, the choices perhaps that she needed to make at that time, and many other details. Sometimes it's easy for some students, but of course, in a certain way, it's always something that you need to think a lot about. So, first, I want your opinion on this. Perhaps you can scan it one more time. You can do it like that for 1 minute, but try to read this quickly one more time if you want, and tell me what is important for you in this first experience that we are reading. What can you say that is important to take into account then when you write essays or important academic essays?
Okay, I like that part. I don't know if I understand it well, but she mentions about she work on her essays early at the morning. So I don't know if it's that correct, but uh, uh, when she wakes up, the first she the first thing that she does is work on her essays without in that in the in that I'm sorry. So doing that, uh, she don't have any other. She mentioned critical, or well, I think that's because she has clearly mind. I don't know if that's correct. So I like that part.
Okay, perfect, Sharei. So let's analyze a little bit, right? Yes, there are moments of the day in which we are, well, better concentrated, right? We're more focused on what we want to do. We have less distractions, right? And of course, our mind is only focused on that specific task. In this first case, she's saying, right, I stayed up really late at first, right? When my inhibitions were down, so I could write, right, without being self-critical and brainstorming ideas. That's really important, actually, the idea of brainstorm ideas, to have all the things that you have in your mind to perhaps at the end try to choose one of those. She said, right, I probably went through 20 ideas at first. Then from those 20, she reduced, right? That narrowed is to reduce. She reduced them down to five, then wrote drafts, right? Or sorry, drafts, right? A draft is like the essay, but of course with a lot of mistakes because that's only like an attempt, right? A draft. Five, and of course she was reducing. I think that process is interesting because in that way you are only going to work with the best idea, and you got to test if that idea was the best one to write an essay about. And of course, it's a process. It's a big process. And of course, even bigger if you're getting into Harvard, right? What can you tell me about this? I don't know if you once were told to write an essay, Sharai. What is your experience with writing essays?
Well, I I didn't write an essay before, so I don't have any experience. Um, Once I wrote a motivational letter for a university on Spain, but that's all.
Okay. And what about similar documents that you needed to write? You're mentioning, for example, that letter. But what about important papers for the university or something that required that you needed to be very focused and concentrated, Sharai? What are those kind of documents or those kind of papers or those kind of assignments? What is similar to this?
I think a similar document it's my thesis where which I work on the last year. So that was an important document. I tried. I worked similar like that early in the morning uh, with full concentrations and things like that.
Okay, good, good. Yes, you can call it like thesis, right? The thesis. Good.
This.
Great. So yeah, of course, even that can be a bigger thing than this one, right? This is only, as they call it on Harvard, right? An application essay. It means that it's part of your application step, right? Because you need to present a lot of papers. And one of those things that you need to present to get into this college university, it's one of these essays, right? And of course, it's not as important as the thesis that you work at the end. That yes, of course, the thesis require a lot of time and a lot of concentration when you really work on important parts of that thesis, right? And I think, yeah, we don't have a lot of time, but I would like to take a look at some important words then over here. What are the words that are kind of hard perhaps for you or you don't get very well?
Mm,
What do you say? For example, do you remember what was the synonym of narrow? What is to narrow something?
and narrowed to become short or or to
Good.
become yes.
Yes, it reduces the sizes or it reduces the number, right? In this case, when you narrowed them down, it means that you reduce something, right? To reduce or decrease in number or in size. Good. What else? That was my first. Then I tried to explain this one to you. I think you understand, right, what a draft is, Sharai, or do you have perhaps some doubts related to this word?
Yes, I I just was reading that word, so I don't understand draft.
Okay, good. A draft, I think you're watching my screen right now. For example, when I want to create a new assignment for you, all right, this is going to be a new assignment, and you are working on the specifics, Sharai, but this is not the official, this is not the original. You're only working on some details, and if those details are going to be official, then you can assign it. But if this is not going to be official and this is only something that you're working on, you can call that as a draft. All right, it says here, right, on the right part, save draft, discard draft. So a draft is going to be like one thing that you are working on, Sharai, that is not actually the official thing. It's like practice, all right? It's like the practice paper. It's like the document on which you are going to try many things, but at the end, it's not considered as the official one, all right? So a draft can be the opposite to official. A draft document, then it's going to be something more, you don't pay a lot of attention to details in a draft. It's only to explore, to experiment. And then when you explore and you try everything on the draft, you work on the official document and you present that one. All right. Other example could be the children, right? Sometimes
Mhm.
children, they work first on a draft notebook, right? On a draft notebook. They do everything there. And then when they finish working on that draft notebook, they have to like take all that information from the draft notebook to the official and to the uh, real notebook that they are going to present to the teacher. I don't know if that helps to understand that word, Sharai.
Yes, yes, teacher. I understand very well.
Okay, good. And you have other words. I know that it's time and we're going to finish here, but try to take a look at this. Remember that this is in the class, right? Here, Sharai, classwork. I'm going to discard this one. So go to the first unit, take a look at reading session. And if you see more words that are perhaps interesting for you, one advice, you can add those words to the vocabulary list that you have to do. Remember, you need at least 9 new words, so you can choose one of these words if it's new for you. All right?
Okay, teacher.
Any good? Any questions or comments before finishing? Sharai, let me know, please.
No, teacher, I don't have any questions.
Great, perfect. Thank you. So I'll see you tomorrow to continue working with the writing part. All right? Bye bye,
Okay,
Sharai.
teacher. Bye, teacher. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye bye. Hello, good evening, Lourdes. How are you?
Hi, teacher. I'm fine. Thank you.
That's great. Great, Lourdes. So let's work with the first reading session that we're going to have. Of course, it's very similar to what we always did. And I think we at first worked like this with you, if I remember well, on the first courses, right, by reading some articles. So we're going to go back to that to put into practice, right, our reading skills, to be sure that we can learn new vocabulary, and also to have some ideas for our essays. Because if you remember what I said last course, right now and in this course, we're going to work with essays every week. The first one is going to be for this Monday. So it's important that we have some ideas or some experiences related to writing essays. This is actually part of the Harvard or right University webpage. And these are like experiences that some students are telling to the community related to the essay that they need to write when they want to enter, all right, to Harvard, because there's actually an application essay that they need to write to get in. So my first question before going to these experiences and read them, Lourdes, what experiences do you, all right, yourself have with essays? Have you ever written some essays before? If you did, can you tell me something about it?
Um, yes, a I have experience with essays. Most than that reading, I think that r- writing, writing it. I write many essays for school. I send application for a scholarship when I was at school in the last year of school. So yes, I have experience writing essays.
Very good. What can you say, all right, according to your experience, what is your, or not your, actually in general, what is the hardest part of writing an essay? Any essay, Lourdes, what do you say?
Um, I think that the most difficult part is trying to find something, a topic, what to talk about. I think that for me, it was the most difficult part because if you don't love the topic, your essay is going to be bad in some way. You have to not only find a topic, but also try to be an expert in that topic. So um, find search so many information, um, valid information too. So I think that the topic is very important when you write a essay.
Good, very good. That's really interesting. Actually, I agree with you, all right, a lot, because yes, sometimes that's the part on which we spend a lot of more of our time, right? Choosing the right topic and also selecting the right information to support our ideas, because it's not only all to choose the topic. As you said, it's better if you are an expert on that topic because you know where to get right valid information from, where to do some research, to only try to organize your essay in the best way possible, and it's easier in that way. But yes, working on the topic, and even not only the topic but the thesis, write a statement of your topic, could be the hardest part. Good. Now let's read something related to the experience that these students had when they were writing the application essay. All right, again, this is related to Harvard. Many people believe that this is one of the best universities that you have. So also many of them believe that it's really hard to get into Harvard. And of course it is, right? But let's see, all right, what they did. It's not a very, very big of a deal of a topic, but let's read these experiences, Lourdes. Please, let's begin by this one. Let's read it.
Okay, I stayed up really late at first when my innovations were down, so I could write without being self-critical and brainstorm ideas. I probably went through 20 ideas, narrowed them down to five, wrote drafts or five, and then picked one and edited until I finished. All of the days writing the essay were stressful. I wrote about the transition from independence to interdependence and my personal growth that was catalyzed by my parents' divorce. I reflected on my early independence as a child and how that transitioned to me depending on their people, working together in teams and leading people to accomplish important things in our community.
Great, thank you very much, Lourdes. So, with you, we're going to work in this way. We've read this, we're going to discuss and have a conversation, a short one related to this, and then we're going to go to this one, and we're going to try to make a comparison of what part for them of writing the essay perhaps was the hardest. What do you think about this one? What do you think about this, let's say, quotation marks strategy, this way of working, what she did with the ideas, brainstorming, the drafts, and so on? What comments do you have related to this experience, Lourdes?
Um, I think that for her wasn't uh, s- was not so difficult the topic. I think that she had clear the topic that she wanted to talk about. Um, and I think that the strategy that she used that uh, make the brainstorm ideas, write many different drafts, and try to put everything in order to make a good essay was the the perfect way to do it. I think that the brainstorms ideas it's a very useful tool for everything, not only for essays. Um, and yes, I think that the the most stressful thing for her was trying to make the essay perfect. Um, write all those drafts and make them to a perfect essay and send this one.
Very good. Thank you very much, Lourdes. Yes, that part was really interesting, right? Working on that many ideas, then reduce those ideas to less, working on drafts, and of course, picking the best one. and the also experience in her life, because that affected, right, the choice that she had. So let's have that in mind. Now, please, let's read this one, and we're going to see what's going to be the difference. Let's read this one, please.
Okay. I distinctly remember writing my Harvard essay at Thanksgiving on my phone. The inspiration just came in waves while I was spending time with my family. I talked about my grandmother who passed around 5 or 6 years ago. She was someone who really influenced me in terms of seeing what one can do with a selfless attitude. She had only ever earned a high school education, and she didn't have the opportunity to go beyond that. Seeing that what someone can do with a high school education was amazing for me. To think about what I could do with the power of a prestigious college education. It was such an inspiration that I immediately wanted to start writing about her. My family was watching a football game, and I was pumping out this is essay.
Thank you very much, Lourdes. So what is the main thing that you see here? What is the process that he followed? Was it perhaps more, as they call it, organic this time? What comparisons can you make between these two experiences, Lourdes?
I think that the first girl was trying to make it perfect, and that was very stressful for her. And I think that for any person, could be very stressful. But this guy do it different because he had just the inspiration at the moment, and he decide to write it in that moment with the inspiration at the time. I think that it's a, a, a good idea too, because maybe when you are inspired, you can write very amazing things just with the inspiration. Of course, I think that the later you have to review this and maybe try to correct some things in order to be better. But the the inspiration that he had was very useful to write an essay that uh, maybe was funny, not funny, but something comfortable for him to write it, and so not so stressful like the girl.
Okay, great, great. I think that was a great comparison. Yes, yes, these are two very different experiences, right, related to writing this application essay. For him, it was something that happened at that moment, and he decided to do it right away. But the girl was working right at a specific time during the day because she wanted, as you said, right, to have something perfect. A lot of ideas to be sure that she was going to have the best one over there. And of course, both are in Harvard, right? Both were Harvard students. I imagine that they graduated already, or perhaps no. Actually, perhaps no, I don't know. Perhaps they are still students, but the thing is that both were accepted into Harvard. So it means that both ways could work. What is the way that could work for you, Lourdes, in case you have this kind of pressure? You said, right, sometimes you apply to a college to finish this shortly. Which one do you think would be your way to go, Lourdes, if you had to apply and the chance to enter to a very prestigious university with an application essay?
I think that it's a little of both of them. Like I said, I think that is inspiration. It's very useful at the moment. When you have inspiration, you have to to take advantage of that, because all your ideas are just growing in your head, and it's very important to write it and take that ideas on a paper or maybe in a computer, something that you uh, will remember later. But I think that the review after the inspiration, the boom of the inspiration, it's very important too, because when you are inspired, almost in my case, I think that maybe the ideas are there, um, all the ideas are there, and I think that all of them could be good ideas, but maybe with the format, with the grammar and other things, more like the format and not so about ideas and creativity, maybe could be bad. So I think that the inspiration is very important and it could be so useful, but the review later of that inspiration, it's very important too.
Perfect. Thank you very much once again, Lourdes. Yes, it's great that you can mix the both right experiences, because I agree. In a certain way, it's important to work with that inspiration, right? Perhaps you can also use the adjective there to be inspired, right? To be inspired. So when you're inspired, right, you have all those ideas, you write them down. Perhaps that can be drafts. And after that, right time, you have the chance of working and improving that idea, right? And make it better and make it even more perfect. Good. I don't know if you have any final questions or comments to finish, Lourdes. Let me know.
No, teacher, everything is clear. Thank you.
Great. Let's finish here then. Lourdes, I'll see you tomorrow for the class. We're going to work with writing, all right, punctuation rules. That's what we're doing, so that it helps you on the essay that you have to write for Monday. All right?
Okay, teacher, thank you.
Perfect. You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, good evening, Mariana. How are you?
Good evening, teacher. Everything's fine.
That's
Thank you.
great. Very good, Mariana. So let's begin with the first reading session that we're going to have. Actually, we're going to be reading about everything, but this first reading is going to be related to essays. Because as you know, we're going to be working with essays daily. You need to write your first essay for this Monday, the second one for the following Monday, and so on and so forth. So you're going to write a total of 4 essays this month. And it's important and interesting that we can read some experiences, right, of people writing essays, and actually really important essays. Of course, these are going to be simple and short essays, but just to give you an idea that the process of writing an essay can be very complex, and some strategies that these people used to write it. So my first question before reading this part, as you can see, this is part of Harvard University, and this is the application essay that students need to write to get into university, into Harvard. So the title of this article is going to be How I Wrote My Harvard Essay. And this is the introduction, but we're going to go directly to the experiences. And before reading this with you, Mariana, I wanted to ask you once again, because you told me, can you tell me once again, what are the things that you remember about writing essays? What is for you the hardest part of doing it, Mariana?
Teacher, I really don't know. It's one of my questions because yesterday I am not at the first part of the class, and I can hear what's the homework or what I need to do.
All right, yes, no, this question actually is in general, right, about your experience with essay. But yes, if you want to know that again, it's very important to watch the first part of the class. It's already on the YouTube channel. I can give you a short summary so that we can take advantage of this time. A short summary would be that every week you have to present an essay. All the details of the essay are here, Mariana. You are, I think, on the class, right, on Google Classroom. So you go to classwork, and even if you read, or sorry, if you watch the video, you're going to see that we read all the criteria. Here, you have to go to upload your first essay here. And this is what you have to do. The first essay, very short, right? Must be written or must be written on Word format, very easy. It must have all the pronunciation rules that we are learning. Remember, we're going to use commas, semicolon, colons. That's what we're going to learn on Friday. And the essay needs to have a total of 200 words. What are the things that we're going to evaluate, or I'm going to evaluate on your essay, Mariana? And it's any topic you want. There's no structure yet. If you want to work with introduction, do it. If not, don't do it. I'm not evaluating the structure yet. I'm only evaluating your punctuation rules. And of course, I'm going to evaluate spelling. If you have mistakes on your essay, you're going to lose points. You're going to have 20 if you only have 2 mistakes in writing, but you can have up to 0 points if you have more than 12 mistakes. Punctuation. If you follow the rules of how to use a comma and what we're going to learn on Friday, if you follow all those rules, you have 40 points. You can have a maximum of 2 mistakes. But if you have a lot of mistakes, let's say 8 mistakes in punctuation, you're only going to have 10 points. And also number of words. So take a look at these criteria. That's the first thing that you have to do. The rubric is going to be different every essay because every week we're going to learn something new. So I'm going to add criteria to evaluate. So besides evaluating your punctuation skills, next course we're going to learn, next week we're going to learn about connectors. So I'm going to evaluate this. But in this first part, I'm not evaluating connectors. On the third one, I'm going to evaluate the structure, introduction, body, conclusion, right? But I'm not going to evaluate that on the second unit, and I'm not going to evaluate that on the first unit. So Mariana, because you only need to write 200 words, all right, 200 words following these criteria, And secondly, every week, and this is for every week, you need to work on this. You have to have one document with 9 words at least, 9 new words that you find in English, Mariana, any words that you find on the internet. And you get those words to a Word document, and you have to upload every week one file that contains new words, 9 new words at least. That's the first thing. Second, you need to upload the link of the classwork, all right? It means this link over here, this one. This is the place in which we work all the examples, right? You need to copy and paste this link over here so that I can see that you were in class, that you were working with examples, and that's also going to be evaluated. And finally, if I ask you any other assignments, you need to upload it here. So that's it. That's what you need to do every week. It's always going to be vocabulary and essay. Tell me, Mariana, if you have any questions.
Sorry, teacher. And what about need to be the essay?
One more time, please, Mariana. I couldn't hear that very well.
Okay. About that need to be the essay, teacher.
You're talking about the topic? I mean, what you're going to talk about in the essay? That's what you're telling me?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, yes, then that's the topic. That's free for you to choose, Mariana. If you want to talk about your dog, your cat, you can do it. If you want to talk about your computer, your car, you can do it. If you want to talk about yourself, you can do it. This first essay is free to choose topic. It means you can talk about whatever you want. And as you don't have the structures or anything, I want to see what is your idea of writing an essay. The only limits that you have here, Mariana, is the number of words and using punctuation rules. If you have this number of words and you use the punctuation rules, it's perfect. And of course, you have to be careful with the writing mistakes. If you pay attention to that, you can organize your essay in the way you want. You can choose the topic you want. It means that you can talk about whatever you want, all right? No limits related to that. I'm going to set those limits in the next units, Mariana, but in the first one, that is free for you to choose, all right?
Okay, teacher.
Good. Any other questions or comments? Let me know, please.
No, teacher, thank you very much.
Good, very good. So you can start working on this. It's not actually very hard because you're going to see here only 9 words. And you can copy and paste if you want, but be sure that you read those words because I can ask you about those words. You go to Google, right? And you can look for new words, right? New English words. You're going to have a list. You look for that word on the dictionary, and you need to only have the word and the definition. The word and the definition, the word and the definition, and that's what you need to have in that document and upload it. And of course, try to learn those words because we're going to try to apply that vocabulary to the next essay that we're going to be writing. Okay, that's the intention of working on new vocabulary every week.
Okay,
Good.
teacher.
Very good. So now we're going to work with this first reading part. We have very few or a little time, sorry, but let's read at least this only and first experience related to what she did to write the essay to get into Harvard, all right? Only the experience or writing the essay. Let's read, please, Maria. All right, let's try to read aloud so that I can hear what you're doing, please.
Sorry, teacher. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. I stayed up really late at first when my inhibitions were down, so I could write without being self-critical and brainstorm ideas. I probably went through 20 ideas, narrowed them down to 5, wrote drafts of 5, and then picked one and edited and edit until I finished. All of the days writing the essay were stressful. I wrote about the transition from independence to interdependence. And my personal growth was catalyzed by my parents' divorce. I reflect on my early independence as a child and how that transitioned to me depending on other people, working together in teams and letting people to accomplish important things in our community.
Great, thank you, Mariana. So this is what we're going to be doing, all right? I'm going to be to try to mark like that some words that we're going to work on related to pronunciation and try to analyze them. First, let's work those pronunciation things. Can you read this word, please, Mariana? Or these two words?
Went through, I
Okay.
think.
Okay, yes, this is going to be more like through, like one entire U, all right? So it's to go through, right? When you go through something, it means that you like went started with these 20 ideas, right? You were working a lot with these 20 ideas. That's to go through something, to work in detail with something. So 20 ideas. So more like, right? Through, went through. Then, and also that th, right? Like through. What about this one? I want to hear the stress of the word. Let's read this word, please.
I think it's edited.
Okay, edited. All right, edited. All right.
Edited.
What about this one?
Catalyzed. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, when you have that one, this Y is going to be similar to the I in this case. So it's going to be to catalyzed. All right, catalyzed. Good, catalyzed. And finally, this one over here, how do you read it?
Leading.
Leading. Good, very good. So let's read one more time this four, please, Maria. One last time.
Okay. Went through.
Good.
Edited, I think.
No, edited.
Edited, and I don't remember.
Like I. This is like I. Catalyzed.
Catalyzed, and leading.
Leading. Good. Very good. All right. Great. Now, you know, because of time, usually what we're going to do with this reading, we're going to analyze the words. Then I can help you to finish this Narrow is a very important word. Narrow is going to be similar to reduce, all right? Reduce. To narrow
No.
something is to reduce something, all right? So you have 20 ideas, and then you reduce those ideas to only 5 ideas, right? You are making them smaller. That's the thing of narrow something, to reduce in size or in number, all right? A draft is something that is opposite to something official, right? For example, you can have a draft notebook on which you take notes, but if you want to present that to the teacher, you cannot present your drafts, right? You need to work on an official notebook. So you do everything perfectly in your official notebook, and that's the thing you present to the teacher, right? Not the draft, but the official one. So draft is something in which you work your things, but not officially. Okay, I don't know if you have any questions. Again, now because of time, we cannot do a lot more. Do you have any questions before finishing, Mariana? Let me know, please.
I think that no, teacher.
Okay, good. Because the idea behind this, the next time we're going to work more time, is going to be reading something, analyzing every word that we have in that thing that we read, or perhaps only read it superficially, and read other paragraphs and try to compare those paragraphs. We're going to try to increase our reading skills by doing that, okay?
Okay, teacher.
Good, very good. That's it for today then, Mariana. I'll be waiting for you tomorrow to continue with the class, and I'm going to explain a little bit more about the essay for Monday.
Okay, teacher. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Hello, good evening, Luciana. How are you?
Hi, teacher. Everything's fine. Thank you.
That's great. Perfect, Luciana. So before working, again, please, one thing that it's important for you to know, Mariana was in class yesterday, but I think that she got in class like late, so she was not able to see all the explanation at the beginning. And the very beginning was to explain the class, all right, related to all the details that are different. Remember that we don't have Pearson now. So the
Oh,
assignments and everything we're going to do is a little bit different. And tell me, Luciana.
yes, teacher. Today in the morning, I saw the class and I was able
Okay,
to complete me almost everything and do the classwork. So I understand what are we gonna do this module and how it's gonna work without person and in classroom.
very good. Perfect. Perfect. That is great, Luciana. Thanks for doing that. That's really important to do. Really, thanks for doing it. Then you're ready. It's only, very important reminders. Don't forget to work on your words, right? Remember, 9 new words at least. You can work more words, but at least 9 words every week. So for Monday, you need to have those 9 words ready on the file that you're going to upload. And of course, the essay of 200 words and following the punctuation rules that we are learning, right? That's the main part over there. Good. And also, one suggestion could be, instead of saying that you complete your right, it's better if you use the expression to catch up, all right? When you say that you caught up, all right, it means that you were able to like reach the level of the other students in terms of what they covered, all right? So when you catch up with your partners, when you catch up also in academic let's say, context, it means that you were able to cover the same amount of things and now you are leveled up with your partners. All right, good. So I don't know if you have any questions perhaps related to what you watched on the video. Luciana, is everything clear? Let me know.
Yes, teacher. Everything is clear.
Good, good. So let's work then with the reading session. Before working this, we're working with the Harvard Gazette, all right? This is part of the Harvard University. When you want to get into Harvard, you need to write application essays. So it's important that we can see the experiences from these students related to what they did when they wanted to write or when they wrote the essay, right, to get into Harvard. We're going to read at least 2. Let's begin by this first one that is from Alison Luciana. Let's read it, please.
Okay, teacher. I read that.
Yes, let's read it aloud, please.
Okay. I stay up really late at first when my inhibitions were down, so I could write without being self-critical and brainstorm ideas. I probably went through 20 ideas, narrowed them down to five, wrote drafts of five, and then picked one and edited until I finished. All of the days writing the size were stressful. I wrote about the transition from independence to independence and my personal growth that was catalyzed by my parents' divorce. I reflect on my early independence as a child and how that transitioned to me depending on other people working together in teams and leading people to accomplish important things in our community.
Thank you very much, Luciana. So with you, we're going to work in this way. We read this. Now we're going to read this other one as well because we're going to compare. But before doing that, what can you tell me about this first experience? What can you tell about her process of writing the essay, Luciana? What is the characteristic, the main characteristic, or the characteristics that you find related to her strategy for writing an essay?
Uh, I understand that she make first like an erase of his essay, and that could help her to do to finish the essay, and how she supporting teams that work together with her and help her a lot.
Okay, very good. Yes, that word, and of course, you use that word to compare, right? Drafts. Yes, she worked with drafts at the beginning, and that helped a lot, right? Having these brainstorm ideas, having a lot of ideas, then reducing those ideas to less ideas, and finally having only one, the best one. And that one idea that you chose, right? You worked on it, you edited that idea a lot until you finished, and you have your final product that went through a lot of process, right? Went through a lot of process. What do you think of this way of working, Luciana? For example, when you work on your any documents that you work on, your papers, could be school or anywhere, what do you do? What is the hardest part for you? And if you have experience with essays, what is for you the hardest part of writing one essay or one paper?
I think that maybe is be able to put all your ideas in one. I think it's difficult for me maybe put all that I want to say in just one essay with, of course, limitations and rules.
Very good. That's really interesting, actually. That's really interesting because you're right. Even I am setting a lot of limits, right? And I'm saying a lot because if I tell you only 200 words, for some of you, 200 words, it's a lot. But for some, well, for others, right, I can say it's actually very little. And you're not going to be able to write everything that you'd like to write. So, yes, unfortunately, many academic rights contexts are going to put and set certain rules, certain limits, because of course they need to have parameters to check, right? But yes, I think that's also one of the hardest things. You have to choose only the best ideas, and even those best ideas, you cannot write everything you want because you have a lot of ideas related to that one idea. So you need to reduce that and reduce and only have the essential to handing in that paper, right? Good. Let's read now, please, this second experience, and we're going to compare both, and you're going to tell me what is the difference between these two, please, Luciana. Let's read now this one, please.
Okay. Um, I distinctly remember writing my Harvard essay at Thanksgiving on my phone. The inspiration just came in waves while I was spending time with my family. I talk about my grandmother who passed around 5 or 6 years ago. She was someone who really influenced me in terms of seeing what one can do with a selfless attitude. She had only ever earned a high school education and she didn't have the opportunity to go beyond that. Seeing what someone can do with a high school education was amazing for me. To think about what I could do with the power of a prestigious college education. It was such an inspiration that immediately want to start writing about her. My family was watching a football game and I was pumping out this essay.
Thank you very much. So, in general, at first, before comparing, what can you tell me about this experience? If you see it's very different from the experience that we have above, what can you tell me about this one, Luciana?
I think this one is more personal because he is talking about one person that inspired him a lot. In this case, was his grandmother, and I think that have like an story more personal for he.
Very good. Yes, indeed, that's something that remarks right over here. Very good. And do you think that he worked in the way that this girl did? I mean, Allison. She worked with a lot of drafts, ideas, erasing, right, working on a new one, working on drafts, editing a lot until she had the final product. Do you think that this guy did the same, or perhaps for him it was more organic and fluid when she was, oh, sorry, when he was working with the essay?
I think that for he it was more organic or natural to write this essay because he already have like an idea of what he want to say, and I think that that was the difference between the two.
Very good. Now, if I ask you to compare this, not actually not compare, if I ask you to tell me, Luciana, which of those two experiences, all right, which one is the one that you would feel more identified with? Perhaps not that you, oh yes, I lived that, I experienced that, no, but in which way do you believe that you work? Do you really work in this way, working with a lot of ideas, being perfectionist, trying to pick the best option? Or in this one that you work when you have that moment of brief inspiration and you write everything right away so that you can express everything you're feeling? Which one do you believe that you work like?
Mm, I
Luciana?
I think that I identify more with um, he with Nick because I usually don't plan what I write. It's more like when I have inspiration or something or someone who makes me wanna write that.
Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, good. That's good to know because everybody has its own way of working, right? And again, I'm setting some rules for the essays, Luciana, but please feel free. Actually, in this first essay, you are 200 words, that's a limit. And using punctuation, that's a second limit. But of course, those are not limits in the way that it's going to be negative for you. Using punctuation is going to be positive. But feel free to write about whatever you want. Of course, these are essays, but if you look into the internet, we're going to learn about essays, but first try to do it yourself and try to see what kind of essays there are. Try to see which one is the best for you to work on. You have personal essays, you have persuasive essays. Sometimes you can say things in a personal way. Sometimes you have to be more objective, right? Try to choose you, all right? The best one that is going to work for you in this first essay. Of course, following the punctuation rules, but try to do what you're telling me. Try to find that one thing that is good for you, that you really like. That's why the topic, right? It's free for you to choose. You can talk about whatever you want. But I think that's also going to help you to have this moment, right, of inspiration, perhaps, and try to express yourself. I would like to read something that is really something important or meaningful for you, Luciana. All right. I don't know if you have any final questions or comments to finish today.
No, teacher, I think that everything's clear.
Great, perfect. So we're going to work with a lot of topics in the reading sessions. This was only to have an introduction because you're going to be working with essays, right? Of how you can think your essays, all right? But that's it. Thanks for being in this session. I hope you have a great night, Luciana, and I'll see you tomorrow, okay?
Thank you, teacher. See you tomorrow.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Hello, good evening. Whitney, how are you?
Good evening, teacher.
Is everything okay?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So let's work with this first session that we got with me. You know what's the logic related to this? You were in class, so you know what you need to do. That's why we're working with this first reading, all right, practice that is related to essays. This is part of Harvard University, all right, news.harvard.edu, all right? And this is application essay, all right, the application essay section in which you have experiences that the students are telling to the community related to the essay that they need to write when they want to get into Harvard. So, of course, there's a lot of pressure because if you want to get into Harvard, of course, you really have the desire of doing it. And writing an essay is not going to be easy on that specific situation, right? So we're going to read these experiences, but first, you told me that you worked with essays before, even you worked with these in exams, right? In the TOEFL, I think. So can you tell me a little bit about that? For you, what is the hardest part of writing an essay with me?
Okay. I think that memorize the type of the essays, is so different when you have to give opinion or between decision or give a decision between two options. And maybe you do a summarize of reading or listening. That's so different, and that's my problem.
Okay, perfect. That's really interesting. Yes, because you're going to the specifics, right? Those are things that they can ask you in tests, and that's right. It's different, right, to work something that you read, something that you listen to, right? And you need to write about them to look for perhaps the things that they have in similar or the things that they have in, well, in contrast, right? So you have many ways of working, yes, expressing personal opinions and so on and so forth. Actually, all of the essays have a similar structure in one way, but the difference is going to be in the words that you're going to be using and the way you're going to be comparing, right? In which way you're going to be using the paragraphs. In this course, we're going to see types of essays, how we can work with different types of essays, but we're going to focus on a very general type one that you can apply to all of them. And of course, I'm going to guide you when you need to work a different one. I'm going to tell you what you need to change when you need to write a different kind of essay. So we're going to work on the persuasive essays that can be also for personal opinion. And I'm also going to show you some essays that I wrote before when I was preparing for some international tests also, in which I'm answering to that kind of question that you're telling me, right? To select only one idea, which one you're choosing, and to try to defend or to support that idea. That can be hard for some students, but that's something that also we're going to be doing. So here, we're going to be taking a look at some experiences, but in a more general way with me. Because when they write essays, sometimes these kind of essays, they have a lot of time to think of the essay. Of course, in the test, you only have some minutes, but they had a lot of time to do it. So let's read what is the hard part of having a lot of time and choosing the best thing to do when you write an essay. Let's read this first experience, please.
Okay. I stayed up really late at first when my invitation were done, so I could write without behind self-critical and brainstorm ideas. I probably went through 20 ideas, narrowed them down to 5, wrote draft of 5, and then picked one and edited until I finished. All of the days writing the essay were stressful. I wrote about the transition from independence to interdependence and my personal growth that was catalogized by my parents' divorce. I reflected on my early independence as a child and how that transitioned to me defending depending on other people, working together in teams, and leading people to accomplish important things in our community.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Whitney. So first, we're going to be analyzing very superficial things as when you read, right, pronunciation a little bit. This is superficial, and then we're going to go deeper and deeper. So let's read one more time this word, please, Whitney. This one over here.
Okay, inhabitations.
Yeah, but as you can see, you only have that I over there, but it's going to be the inhibitions, right? To be inhibited, right? Inhibitions. And inhibition is something that is going to stop you from thinking. It's going to stop you from doing something, right? Inhibitions are things that everybody, all right, that everybody has that always like limit them, all right? That's an inhibition, something that puts you some limits when doing something. So that's the first one, inhibitions. What about this one over here?
Self-critical.
Good, good, very good. I think we have that one very good. Now this one.
Ideas.
All right, this one is going to be more like this one, at least in all the kind of accents and yes, accents that I've heard. This was always like ideas, all right, like I. So we have the ideas over there.
Okay.
Then this one over here.
Throw.
This has to be a little bit more subtle. It means soft, and this one a little bit more noticeable. So that th more like, and this like entire word more like only one u. So it's going to be through, through. All right, like
Okay,
through, through.
Okay.
Very good. What about this one?
Catalysate.
In this case, that word is only going to be the last part, and the e is almost lost, so it's going to be catalyzed. All right, catalyzed.
Okay.
And this one over here?
Child.
Good, yes, very good, right? Child, good. And this one, I think at the end you did it good. That's why I didn't mark it. But can you try to repeat once again this last word, please? With A?
Accomplish.
Accomplish, good, good. So you have that one, very good. Now we have that part. Now, let's try to analyze this. First, again, very general. What do you have from this idea? What is important for you over here? And what can you tell me about the process of writing essays for her?
Mm, mm, like and then pick the one and edit and edit and edit until I finish. I think that's very important to repeat what's your purpose with your essay, or what do you want to give or to understand with the essay.
Okay, good, good. Yes, I think this is a really interesting part, right? First, this is interesting, and this is very important. When you have time to brainstorm, right? What is to brainstorm? Because that can also be a verb. And of course, this is an activity, right? Brainstorm ideas. Just grab anything that comes to your mind, right? And write it down. So you have an idea, write it down. You have a different idea, write it down. So you have a group of numerous ideas. And let's say that you have 20 like her, right? Then you reduce those 20 ideas to, right? Because narrow, that's important. Narrow is very similar to reduce. You reduce those 20 ideas down to 5. And then you write drafts, right? Of the 5. And at the end, you only pick one, right? You only pick one. And that's the one you're going to be editing a lot, and you're thinking about the ideas of how to improve that one and only choice until you have the final product, right? And that's, of course, when you have time. When you have time, you can do that. And at the end, you have a very interesting product. So if you had time for writing essays, because again, at the beginning, first you're going to have essays for international tests. You're not going to have time to think about Whitney. But perhaps if you go abroad, if you want to apply to a scholarship or to a college university, you're going to need to do this. They are going to give you some time, weeks, months, to write an application essay. So do you think that this strategy is good for writing an application essay? What do you say?
Yes, I think that's a good strategy for apply.
Okay, okay, very good. I have one more. Let's have everything in mind, all right? Don't worry, we're not finished with this. And if we want to work or if we have to work one more class with this one, we're going to do it. But I would like you now to read this one because this is a different experience and we're going to compare a little bit of them, all right? So let's read this one, please, with me.
Okay, the distinctly remember writing my Harvard essay at Thanksgiving on my phone. The inspiration just come in waves while I was spending time with my family. I talk about my grandmother who passed around 5 or 6 years ago. She was someone who really influenced me in terms of seeing what one can do with a self-in attitude. She had only ever earned a high school education and she didn't have the opportunity to go beyond that. Seeing what someone can do with a high school education was amazing for me to think about what I could do with the power of a prestigious college education. It was such an inspiration that I immediately wanted to start writing about her. My family was watching a football game and I was pumping out this essay.
Great, perfect. Thank you very much. Again, and again, if I select these words, it's not because they are incorrect, they are very bad, wrong. No, it's just to make some little changes and to improve perhaps and to make them even better. All right. So don't forget that this is also part of the sentence. So it's going to be I distinctly, right? So let's read this word once again.
Okay. I distinctly.
Good, distinctly. What about this one? It's a very simple word, but I want to see how you work with this past thing.
Talk.
Okay, talk. Talk, it sounds a little bit like only present as only base form. Of course, you don't need the E over here, right? Because you pronounce it like only T. But how would you pronounce if I tell you to replace this ED with a T? How do you pronounce this with a T instead of ED?
Talked.
Talked? Okay, good. Yes, that little at the end, I didn't hear it at the beginning, and the second time also I didn't hear it. Now I think it was clearer. Try to put emphasis on that last and very, very subtle, because that is going to be the clue, all right, to understand that this is past. If you don't show me, for example, past time expressions, that's the only thing that it's going to tell me that. Good. So one more time, please, this one.
Talked. Sorry, I have brackets. I don't know how do you say brackets.
Oh.
And I can't talk well as English.
Okay, don't worry. No, but you did it. You know how to do it because I heard it. Don't worry. But the previous one you did it good. I'm going to repeat for you once again. So talked, talked, talked. All right, that's at the end is very
Talked.
good. Good, perfect. Great. This one over here.
Selfish attitude.
Okay, good. That was better. Selfless, right? Selfless attitude, right? Attitude. Good. That T is very strong. This is more like subtle, ati, but this is t, attitude. Good. What about this one?
Hairnet.
Or the E is not going to be like h, it's only going to be earned. Earned.
Earned.
Good. Earned. This one over here.
Power.
It's like power, right? Power. Good. This one.
Prestigious.
Good, prestigious, very good, very good. I think it was at the beginning that you saw it very quickly, that you were not able to read it correctly, but yes, that's the word, very good. That's it, but I would like to finish this reading session with me by you telling me what is the main difference that you see between this experience, this guy's experience, and the girl's experience.
Mm, I think that he has an inspiration or a proposed difference than the woman because he wants to apply to this college because she has a um, grandmother. I don't know who do you say. Um, is- uh, sorry.
What word?
No.
It's okay, you're doing it good. Try to use your own words. I'm going to tell you later.
Okay. The purpose of the girl is to apply the university. That's just the purpose. And this man is applied because he has an inspiration from his family.
Okay, good, very good. Yes, this is more like a, let me go up a little bit, more like focused on only writing that application essay, right, to get into the university. And she's like perfectionist, working on these 20 ideas and drafts and picking one and editing that one. While this guy only thought, okay, I think I admire, right? I look up to my grandmother. I admire her. So I know her story. I know that she's amazing because of what she did with only higher education, right? And that's inspiring for me. So in the family, right, while my family was watching football or while they were doing that, he was working on his essay because he felt like inspired. So this was more organic, more natural, right? It just happened. But this girl had to pass through a lot of process, sorry, before going to the one and only document to hand in, right? But this guy had it more clear in that way. But actually, both were accepted in Harvard, right? And that's interesting because you know that you have different ways of writing essays and both could work. We're going to finish here. This was only to have an introduction for the essay idea. Do you have any questions to finish this up? Let me know, please.
No, teacher.
Good, very good. So I'll see you tomorrow to continue working with the punctuation rules, all right, so that you can use them for your essay. Thanks for being here and have a good night.
Thank you, teacher. Bye.
Bye-bye. Hello, good evening, Melissa. How are you?
Hello, Jose Luis, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Is everything okay?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, very good, great. So let's start working, Melissa. Very similar to what we did. The only thing is that as I showed you one of the classes, right, on the last course, we're going to be working with articles or something related to reading that I want you to read because of a certain purpose. This first purpose is related to essays because I want you to get into the idea of writing essays, right? What implies, right? Well, what does it imply to write an essay? So what experience do you have with essays in general, Melissa? And if you have or you don't have any experience at all, what do you think is the hardest part of writing one?
I think that for me, the hardest part is to have your ideas clear and to do not get lost in the middle of the essay and have a point where you want to go through all the essay. Like like not writing just because, writing the essay with a reason, with a purpose, and with something important to say at the end of it.
Good, very good, great. That's very related to the structure of the essay, right? Because the structure is going to ask you to have a topic, a thesis statement, Why? Because that's what's going to guide your thesis, right? That's going to be the main idea, and you need to work around that main idea and look for supporting ideas to, well, defend the position that you're having. So that's really interesting. I agree with you, and not getting lost on all those ideas that you can project right into the essay. Good. Now we're going to take a look at perhaps not the specifics of writing the essay, but the process of thinking of the ideas, as perhaps you're saying, but in a very general way, and the different ways in which you can feel inspired could be to write one. We're going to read at least two. First is going to be Allison's experience, and then we're going to read Nick's experience. Both are Harvard students, and both wrote the application essay to get into Harvard. And actually, this is an official webpage from Harvard in which the students are telling the experience to the community. So let's begin with this one, please, Melissa. Let's read this experience over here.
Okay, I stayed up really late at first when my inhibitions were down, so I could write without being self-critical and brainstorm ideas. I probably went through 20 ideas, narrowed them down to 5, wrote draft of 5, and then pick one and edited and edited and edited until I finished. All of the days writing the essay were stressful. I wrote about the transition from my independence to independence and my personal growth that was catalyzed by my parents' divorce. I reflected on my early independence as a child and how that transitioned to me depending on other people, working together in teams and leading people to accomplish important things in our community.
Good. Very good. Great. I think that we don't have problems in terms of pronunciation with you, right? Because you have great English. So we're going to focus on something different. We're going to skip that part and go into the deeper aspects of this. What do you see here in terms of strategies for writing essays? And what do you think is the track that she followed to work on that essay that she needed to write? What do you identify here, Melissa?
I think that her main strategy was I don't know how to say it in English, but like to embed, like to filter the ideas. For example, she starts with 20 and then she narrowed them to 5, and she wrote draft to those 5 ideas, and probably then she picked the best one, or she read all the draft, and she was able to tell what topic was the most accurate to write the official essay. So I think that her strategy was start with a big number of ideas or topics, and then she tried to uh, narrow them or to filter the best ones.
Good, very good. Yes, I think that expression was even better. Great filtering, right? Filtering those ideas, those thoughts into one in particular, right? That is the one that she chose. And then at the end, she was editing, polishing that one idea to get the final and the best product. Good. We're not going to go into details here. Before doing that, we're going to read the second one, again, superficially, to compare both experiences. Let's read this second one, please, Melissa.
Okay. I distinctly remember writing my Harvard essay at Thanksgiving on my phone. The inspiration just came in waves while I was spending time with my family. I talked about my grandmother who passed around 5 or 6 years ago. She was someone who really influenced me in terms of seeing what one can do with a selfless attitude. She had only ever earned a high school education, and she didn't have the opportunity to go beyond that. Seeing what someone can do with a high school education was amazing for me. To think about what I could do with the power of a prestigious college education. It was such an inspiration that I immediately wanted to start writing about her. My family was watching a football game and I was pumping out this essay.
Good. Thank you very much. So, of course, this is a different experience. I don't know if we can call this strategy. We can call it like that, but this was a different way of working, right, on an essay. What do you believe about this one? What do you think is the main thing here in this experience, Melissa? What can you tell me about this?
I think that the first one was more logical, I think, or more methodical, and this second one went for the emotional part. He let his heart go with this decision about the topic of the essay, and I think that he was more he he was more interested in trying to show the readers about an emotional side and why be, why college or a prestigious college in this case was so important to him, and how he saw the other side about not having this type of or this kind of education.
Thank you very much. Good, good. That was great. That was great. Yeah. Yeah, of course, more personal, right? More organic, natural in the sense that it just came right to his mind and he wrote it. And it says, right? I remember writing my Harvard essay at Thanksgiving on my phone, even on his phone. Some people spend a lot of time, a lot of time working on that on many places, but he did it right on his phone. That's really interesting. So my question over here now, comparing these two experiences, Melissa, which one do you feel more identified with? Sometimes some people try to work and they work in a logical way because sometimes it's better, sometimes it gives better results and it assures you, right, that you're going to have a better product. But other people prefer to have that one moment of inspiration, right? You're inspired and you want to take advantage of that sensation to work on the thing that you have to work. So which one is the best for you? Of course, it can depend, right? But which one works for you better in most of the cases, Melissa? The logical way, the emotional way, inspiration?
I think the emotional way. I think that I'm more logical in many aspects of my life or my personal life. But when I had the opportunity to write essays and to choose a topic to write about, I was more interested in talking about something that felt really close to me or felt really personal to me, and I almost every time write about something that has a special meaning, and not just because it seems the best idea or it seems the easier way to go through.
Very good. Great. Now, to finish this up, I want to know about perhaps, you know that now these are not like big essays. We don't need to work on a big thing. But anyway, we have four essays, four different essays. And the first one, the only limit is the number of words, right? So what do you think that you need to do to work on these essays that you're going to work this month, Melissa? Do you already know what you're going to write about? Is it going to happen just at the moment when you feel inspired, when something like emotional is going to make you do it? Or what is your perhaps perception of what you're going to do in this class, in this month, right? Related to the essays that you need to write.
Well, I think that I was trying to think about topics that spoke to me or were something important, because I think that would be easier to write and it would be easier for me to try to narrow that topics in the amount of words that we need each week. So, for example, I was remember that I wrote an essay in college. It was free topic, and I wrote about the importance of the young adult literature and why it's important to us to have that type of books. And I don't know, I was thinking about that essay, and I was trying to found it to see if I can read it and try to improve it, because I know that my English is more fluent, or I would like to think that, because that was like 5, 6 years ago. So I was trying to start with that topic and then try to look certain topics that felt important or exciting to write about.
Great, very good. I think that's going to be interesting. Sorry, you should do that because we're going to work gradually, all right, in a sequence. First, only punctuation. The second week, I'm going to check punctuation and transitional words, connectors. The third one, I'm going to check punctuation, transitional words, connectors, and structure. It means the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. And finally, we're going to check all the details for writing. So you can work on one and only one, perhaps, topic and try to improve it every time more and more with all the things we're going to be learning. And of course, you're going to be comparing, improving, and that can be a really interesting work to do. So I think that's going to be everything now, Melissa. I don't know if you have any questions related to the things you need to do. Remember that for Monday, you have to upload certain files, including your essay, right? But we're going to continue working on punctuation rules tomorrow so that you have everything clear, right, on how to apply those rules to your first essay. Any questions or comments, let me know, please.
Yes, the essay is due Monday, right? And the vocabulary is for Monday
Yes,
also, or okay.
yes, both are going to be always for the same date. It means that on Monday, and every Monday actually, right? Every Monday, you have to upload your in-class activities. It means the vocabulary and the link of the classwork, right, that we have, and any other assignments, and also the essay that is due for that Monday, all right? So both for Monday, all right?
Okay,
Any other questions
only
or comments?
the 6 words and their definitions, right? I don't need to write an example or something like that.
No, only that. But remember, are 9 in total, right? Instead of 6, 9. Yes, but only the 9 and the definition. But be sure that you read those words and the definition, of course, because you don't need to write an example. But I may, all right, I may ask you to choose one of them in one of the classes, perhaps on Monday, and you need to give me an example to see how you understand that word. All right, only one of them. You don't need to write it, you don't need to upload it with examples, but I may ask you when I check that work. Okay,
Okay, got it.
very good. That's it then. I think we're clear with that. Tomorrow we finish with punctuation rules, and that's it for now, Melissa. I don't know if you have anything else to say.
Uh, Not related to the essays, but the link of the class is on the YouTube channel already or not? Because I
Ah,
need.
yes, yes. Well, the of the first class you're telling me, right?
Yes.
Yes, yes, it's what I didn't send that. No, yes, everything is there. Everything, the class
Ah,
is already on YouTube.
okay.
The class that we have on Wednesday, it's on YouTube.
Okay, got it. That was
Great,
it then. I don't have any other question.
great. Thanks for being here then, Melissa. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Goodbye, Jose Luis. Bye.
Bye-bye.